off with a little bit of a preparation and warm-up exercise. My old favourite, the swinging arms, feet about shoulder width apart, maybe just slightly wider, toes turned in a little, as close as comfortable to parallel, knees over the top of the feet, and sitting from the middle of the body. Roll the shoulders back, think about the space in the middle of the back in between the shoulder blades as you lift the arms and roll them back, gently stretching the back. Sit with the hips as if you're holding something heavy, and then push up through the arms to extend and stretch, open out. I guess there's many different names for this exercise. When we're doing Shibashi, the 18 techniques, then we're thinking of reaching into the sky to separate the clouds. In the Lotus Qigong, where we push up, open like a lotus flower emerging from the water to open in the morning sun. Whatever image you think of, it's good to help you tune in, to think about what you're doing, and more importantly, to feel what you're doing. Sit the weight down into your feet, sit up through the back, and then push up with the arms. This version, we're staying down low, we're sitting with the hips and keeping the weight down the legs while getting a little bit of an extra stretch up through the back and stretching through all of the internal organs. From the famous 8 golden treasures, we have the heavenly lift. So you can lift into the stretching, lifting the feet off the ground, or with this version, just sitting back down into the hips and keeping the weight down there while you push up a little bit extra, then open out. It's good to open up the back and to get the stance so that we can turn from the middle of the body, rotating on the central axis line, keeping the eyes level and looking around as you turn. Same principle, adjust if necessary. If you don't feel comfortable turning the head, just keep looking straight ahead, or let the head turn a little bit with the body. Or I actually like to include a little bit of extra rotation and turn the neck as well. So I'm thinking about keeping the knees strong, using the hips for rotation, a little bit of flexing around the waist, a little bit with the shoulders, and then also that little bit with the neck. Your level is most important. I guess the other thing that sometimes people miss out in the beginning is bending the elbow, especially at the back. If you let the elbow just sort of wrap around the body. When it gets a bit cool, you might even want to use that as a little bit of a happy slapping massage, letting the arms wrap around the body and to stimulate the circulation and to, well, even give yourself a pat on the back if you feel comfortable, bring the arm right up over the top. Yeah, so a good general warming and loosening exercise. Walking on the spot, lifting the heels up onto the tip of the toes. Gives that little bit of extra work in the ankle when we think about that part of the exercise. And then if you feel like going down a little bit lower, it might start to come into a bit of a Tai Chi jogging exercise. Get a little bit more flow going, rocking and rolling, lifting and lowering at the same time with the ankles if you feel that they can take the weight there. If you have any inflammation in the feet, then just be very careful. Adjust, do it slowly, cautious. Or just don't go as far, whatever it is that works for you. Even getting a little bit more loosening into the arms, we like to use the rotation, rolling the wrists, and still keep working on the legs. And of course, I always highly recommend doing a few extra knee lifting exercises as well to be able to get that extra work into the abdomen and the lower back. For the hip joint, just think about stable on one side and pivoting on the heel. Very easy to get into the inside of the hip joint like this. Rotating the ball in the socket so we get that extra work onto the different joint surfaces and those tendons and connective tissues. So even though it's gentle exercise, it helps to increase the circulation. So it nourishes, it nurtures. We feed the joints and the connective tissues when we're doing these sort of things. Maybe just a little bit more rolling, rotating around with a focus on feeling a flow through the foot. Think about the different parts. Roll back the other way. Loosen the ankles. It's a bit of work on the knee and up into the hip joint as well. Change. Stabilize first. Think about the flow, the feeling of the movement. I've been noticing there's a lot of regulars on the program, and that's really good to see. You're keeping up your practice and keep sharing it and letting more people know about it as well. Thank you very much for that. And if you want to go back to any of the other ones, there is the earlier videos of the Shibashi, the 18 techniques, and some where we've spent a little bit more time on the lotus exercise as well. Now we're moving into the cooler weather. We will spend a little bit more time on the Lohan. I'm not sure how we'll go in doing Lohan 2, but for this stage we'll stay on Lohan 1 a little bit longer. Hand washing techniques, hand massage techniques, sliding the fingers through each other to help warm up the joint surfaces a little bit. Through the center of the palm, the Lao Gong, this is the focus of the palm we use in the Lohan or in many of the pushing exercises, or scooping, lifting, as if holding something in the palm. We focus the energy into the Lao Gong point. An interesting aspect of the Lao Gong point, the energy point of the palm, is it projects energy out, like in pushing, but you can also use it to feel, to sense. Yeah, to hollow in a little bit, to feel the energy as if you're drawing it in. So you have the expression outwards or drawing back in. So Hagu on the large intestine meridian, and acupressure point that's often used for pain relief on the side of the head, the headache or toothache there, or just a general toning point. Again, we can massage to put energy into this point. And then sometimes we use those points to make connection with the kidneys, so that we're sort of putting some energy into the lower back, rubbing the back, adding a little bit of warmth, helping to increase the circulation. And I also think of it as taking the awareness into the lower back, and then that's really helpful in the feeling of sitting with the hips, activating the pelvic floor and tucking down that little bit. This is our basic foundation, the horse riding stance. In the 8 Principles of Practice Challenge, we talk about the 3 different stances and the stepping exercises. And we use the horse riding stance quite a bit in the Lohan, and if you feel comfortable, you can go a little bit wider with that. And use it as a foundation for many of the other positions that we're going to use. Back to rubbing the hands together a little bit, just warming up the palms there. Yeah, get the focus of the warrior monk in meditation. So this is not just the introverted prayer position, but a focus of extension and projection. As you sit down into your stance, you sit up through the back and you focus onto the edges of the hands, so a little rotation on the center of the palm. You put the hands into a strong position. This first exercise follows the microcosmic orbit. We think of the tip of the tongue touching just behind the top teeth and relaxing the tongue, the throat, down into the chest, down into the abdomen, right down into the center of the abdomen, the dantian. And then as we activate, we think about the tailbone, the lowest part of the spine, the pelvis, the lower back, up through the middle of the back, up through the kidneys, up between the shoulder blades, into the neck, and right up to the top of the head. A small heavenly roll. Otherwise think of a sticky cinnamon bun. The microcosmic orbit. Lifting the spirit, projecting into the sky from the top of the head, keeping the head up and relaxing the face, but keeping the inner smile, and then relaxing down inside the body, right into the middle of the abdomen. And focus to sit up straight, push forward a little bit with the edges of the hands, and extend the fingers, projecting forward and then releasing down. a good exercise by itself. Now, if the legs do get a bit tired, you can come up or adjust, or just move around a little bit from time to time. But I'm going to stand here for a while we do a few of the different exercises. This one is almost the same. We're thinking about the thrust forward. So in this case, the fingertips are projecting to thrust and extend. So we've got a thrusting movement. And even here, there's a wedge shape, a triangle. And this could mean that the arm is being used as a deflection in the martial arts while you're jabbing forward with your fingertips. And then just making some little changes, we can rotate onto the edge of the hand, and perhaps even just do that as an exercise, rotating, turning through the forearms, turning the wrists. A good little gentle exercise all by itself. From the center position, we can focus on thrusting forward, sitting back into position, and thrusting forward. Got the lifting of the palm, like in supporting the palm in front of the shoulder or holding the ball, something like that. The other hand, of course, has got the jabbing and thrusting forward with the fingers. So these are also, again, martial art techniques. We're not just thinking of an exercise of doing the movement. We're trying to think about how we put the focus into lifting with the palm, along the little finger edge, down along the arm, that angle, and even into the fingertips. Lohan, the Buddha palm from the famous Shaolin temple. Turning the body, sitting back into the center, rotating and turning, thrusting forward with the fingers. In the middle again, keeping the shoulders and the elbows in good alignment, just gently pushing over with the fingertips to gently stretch the wrist. Again, just being cautious about how much pressure you put on there. Only very careful. No pain, no strain, just to the level that feels comfortable for you. Some of these stretching exercises with the bigger tendons, we hold them just for a little bit longer to allow the tendons to release. Try and think of it that way. You're releasing any unnecessary tension from the tendon to allow it to lengthen rather than trying to tear it out or stretch it out in that sense. So gentle exercise again is very beneficial, and because we're doing the warm-up exercises, warming up the tendons also helps to improve the flexibility. Now going a little bit further, we might bring the hand over so that we can sweep the arm out to the front like a chopping movement. So I'm bending over with the wrist, doing the same sort of thing here to the side, and then sweeping the arm across to the front. Sitting into the horse riding stance in the middle, breathing in to gather, and sitting to focus. Now these sort of exercises are very good preparation exercises, but they're also a part of the skill, part of the movement that we're going to use. Sometimes we're focusing here on the edge of the hand sweeping across, or with the palm facing up, the hand sweeping across. In the Lohan too, we do go right around with the spiral green dragon. And this is a good exercise for the shoulder, a couple of times around the block, just rotating. And if you can't go all the way, just where you can comfortably, try and keep the head up. Don't let the head nod underneath the hand. Keep the focus on the upright posture and take the hand around the neck, just where you can comfortably, and then that'll also be used in the spiral movement to sweep the palm to the front. So around the block a few times. That's part of the spiral green dragon seeking the pearl. And changing sides. Now the back to the kidneys, sit at the hips to sit up straight, Turn to sweep the arm across, lifting, blocking up in front of the body, sitting into the middle, bringing the hand around the back of the neck, turning to the side to breathe in, and then sitting to focus to the center. The spiral green dragon seeks the pearl. I like this part of getting that extra exercise for the shoulder, and that's the main focus. But as you can see, there's many different aspects following the waist meridians, around the back to the kidneys, sitting down into the horse riding stance. They're all a part of that exercise. Just a little bit more lifting of the knees. And as a reminder to stay well hydrated in the cooler and drier weather. Got to look after the body. All the different parts are important for maintaining the strength of our immune system. Good nutrition, including staying well hydrated, getting adequate rest, avoiding stress. Being active and healthy helps us to avoid stress, and of course our relaxation through the Qigong has that extra element of working with the mind. The mindfulness is also very important for helping to adjust the nervous system. We're using the conscious mind, parasympathetic nervous system, to control the sympathetic nervous system, to reduce stress within the body. And also as a type of brain training, I believe it develops brain resilience. You know, a lot of people think, oh no, I don't need to cop out, I can cope with all of this. Well, in fact, using the mind and doing mindful exercise is not just a passive relaxation in that sense. It has very beneficial aspects like that, but other aspect is that you're developing the brain. And when you're focusing on feeling and awareness, you're thinking about the connection, the mind and body connection, so that you can feel and be aware of all of the different parts. And you can use your mind to bring them into balance, to get rid of any stress, tension, any blockages, and allow things to flow. So the three most important principles that we focus on during the Lohan Qigong is 1, mindfulness, to be present, to be awake and not dreaming, to be here now, right here, right now, to whatever's happening. In a sense, good or bad, you've got to be aware of it. If it's bad, well, you have to try and adjust and learn to cope and things like that. If it's good, well, that's easy. You enjoy, So sometimes you might have something that's not working as good as we would like. So instead of just thinking of it as like punishment that we have to force it to come into line, we try to nurture it. We try to cultivate that skill. So we're using a mindful self-compassion of being calm and gentle to ourselves. And then we can express that compassion to others as well. The second part takes the mind that little bit further into the tendons and connective tissues. Hence we're doing that little bit of extra work on some of those this morning. Lifting and lowering the heel. And this is a good exercise for that big, thick Achilles tendon at the back of the ankle. So when we're sitting into our stances and pushing through our feet into the body, we're stretching and activating these tendons as well. An interesting aspect is that the muscles burn fuel to release energy. They all work from contraction. They're all a set of levers that move the bones that way. But tendons can absorb and release like elastic. So we've got to try and think of how we get that elasticity into the tendons as well. So that little exercise of just lifting and lowering the heel is very good for that. I also like the idea that we're stabilizing on the front leg. And we're controlling our weight, keeping the balance on the front leg while we lift and lower the heel here. So ankle rotations, any of those sort of exercises are really good for those big tendons that move through the ankle into the foot. Just like the arm, the muscles in the arm pull the tendons that move the fingers around, and the muscles in the leg pull the tendons that go through the ankle down into your toes and into the foot itself. So trying to keep them flexible, well nourished, no tension. From our horse riding stance, we often move into the bow stance, where we have the foot on the ground at the back, about 45 degrees. The hips turn so that we're nice and square into the front of the stance, and being careful not to lunge onto the knee. We want to keep the knee in a good strong alignment to sit from the middle of the body. And even just holding that position can be a little bit of a stretching exercise into those connective tissues. Inclining forward, the wild horse drinks water. We look down, but we don't let the head drop down. We keep the head up. Think about the top of the head projecting forward so the neck and the back are in a straight line. To come back up again, don't lift with the back. Try and get the feeling that you sit your weight back down into the feet to sit up straight. Push back, adjust the feet to change to the other side. Just holding the bow stance there for a moment. Allow the tendons to adjust. The wild horse drinks water, inclining forward. I get a push back into the heel, so I think of projecting forward with the top of the head and pushing all the way back down into the heel at the back. Usually you've got the hands behind the back, behind the kidneys as well. Sitting the weight down like a lotus spiraling downward, we take the weight into the feet and into the floor and adjusting again. It all depends on how far you feel that you can go comfortable, but don't curl over. Try to avoid that. Think of keeping the back as straight as you can as you stretch out to where it feels comfortable for you. The wild horse drinking water. Releasing into the feet, adjusting, turning to the side, stretching out comfortably. Don't worry if you're not able to go as far. And if you can go further, sure, go as far as you can, as long as it feels good. Actually, that's one of the things I like about this cooler weather. It makes me feel like doing a little bit more, a little bit extra into the exercises. Another one that I want to spend a little bit of time to look at, and again to do easy to start off with, is what we call the drop knee stance. As an example, however far, you might not be able to go all the way to the side. That's okay. You can still do the exercise perfectly. Putting the knee into alignment, sitting with the hips to lift the ankle at the other side. Being careful not to twist. Only use your hip joint to rotate. And if you can, to look back gently over your shoulder. So you're sitting down, sitting up, and gently rotating at the same time. Put the heel down again, push the weight back, turn the toes in, move the balance, open the foot out to just a little bit here. I'm being a bit conservative. Keeping the knee into good alignment. Turning from the center of the body to let the back foot come up, sitting down, stretching up from the thigh through the inside of the body, and turning to look back over the shoulder. Relaxing to put the heel down, coming back into position. For another version, going a little bit further, adjust to your level, where you feel comfortable to sit. Keep the focus on the upright posture, gently stretching, comfortable movement. So again, we're getting a bit of a stretch out into the muscles and connective tissues. I'm going to turn around just to do this side of the movement so that it's easier to see this leg, the drop knee. So from the thigh, up through the pelvis, through the middle of the abdomen, on the inside of the spine, there's a big muscle called the psoas. So as well as getting these other stretching aspects of the movement, I'm also thinking of that feeling of stretching up through the back on the inside of the spine and getting that connection right down there into the thigh. Whatever level works best for you, that's the key point again. Is more better, only if it's comfortable. Good old knee lifting exercises. To extend out, you can just push with the palm, push the arms out, and sometimes we have those little bit of extra focus like on the edge of the hand. We're stretching to open the gates. It's not just pushing out, but also pulling back a little bit. This helps us to stretch the tendons and connective tissue. The Lohan gesture, the palm, focus on the palm, the upright pointer finger, bent over fingers here to whatever level. If the hand starts to close up, open up again, don't worry about this too much. More important, get the focus in here and on the edge of the hands. This also helps us stretching with the tendons and connective tissues so that when we push out, it's not how far you can reach, but how far you can keep everything in balance. So there's a push forward and a pull back, sitting into position. The chin in to lengthen the neck and all the way up to the top of the head. So we try to highlight that when we're doing this, it's all the way through the body. Take a moment to feel, use your mind to make the connections, and then think of how you activate the tendons to stretch. And that brings us to the third point. 1, the mind. 2, the connections, the tendons and connective tissues, even the myofascial tissue that encloses all of the muscles. The muscles to squeeze the bones. It helps to strengthen the muscles, getting the muscles sort of working against each other. But one of the most important parts is to stimulate the bones, to absorb the minerals, to make the bones stronger. Whenever the bones are exposed to a force greater than gravity, they absorb those minerals. So it's not just, again, the pushing or using one set of muscles, but trying to use them to work against each other. And then the ramifications for that into the Qigong exercise are that you stimulate the marrow. It's bone breathing. You squeeze the bones, ease off again. Squeezing the bones to stimulate the marrow. That's the nursery for all the T cells. The red and white blood cells are all manufactured there. So as we run through the set, you might not be able to think of all 3 all of the time. You might just like to pick on one at a time and exercise your skills that way. Or think of it progressively. Focus the mind, make the connections, and then activate to squeeze the bones. And remember, keep breathing, adjust your own level. I'm just going to change the music, come back to the beginning of the Lohan. That's it. The Lohan, the enlightened warrior. The warrior, regimented, discipline and respect. The monk, self-respect, self-discipline, respect and appreciation for others. And say that the warrior had to subdue the tiger. Gather, lift, think of any tension, any stress, any frustration, indeed any anger, anything that we need to let go. Release. To calm the heart and clear the mind, to have a mindful awareness of ourselves and our surroundings, try and perceive the space behind you. Listen, feel. And as you lift the arms, think about your back, up the middle of the back, between the shoulder blades, extend and stretch out into the arms. Think of the space up above your head, above the roof, above the clouds, way up high into the sky. Put the palms together to be here now, like the Zen monk in meditation. To be present with a sense of appreciation. To relax, to release, and to let go. Gathering and lifting of the palms. Focus on the little finger edges of the hands to draw around the waist, around the back to the kidneys. Sit at the hips and push down into the feet. Lift through the back. Going to a higher level, the soaring eagle spreads its wings, representing a higher level of thinking. Back down to earth. Spiraling, as if lifting something heavy, drawing up using the legs, the back, roll the fists to the front. The warrior squats, steps into the horse riding stance. We usually take 2 steps to open out part of the way on one side, adjust the balance, and the other part on the other side. You can always adjust the stance to do a little bit less or do a little bit more if you feel comfortable. 3 rings embrace the moon. Again, I like to think about the waist and sitting with the hips to tuck down into the feet, lifting up along the spine, embracing the space from all around. Sometimes we spend extra time in the standing Qigong posture. Remember to keep breathing, keep flowing. Focus the mind onto what you're doing, and awareness. The 3 rings, center ring to push out. Think of the full 360 degrees all the way around. To the side. Again, sit comfortably, up straight, focus and release. Turn to the other side. The 3 rings. Blocking up and pushing out. There's another ring, a circle shape here. Sitting in the middle. Think of the full moon, the full 360 degrees around the circle. Looking to the side, turning the toes out, pushing the knee into alignment, lifting the heel, and then turning the body carefully, pulling back with one hand to the hip, and the other hand pushing down to help sit up while you lower into your stance. Put the heel down to relax and push out again to the side, returning through the middle position, turning and looking to the side to push across, lifting the heel, turning from the hips, sitting up, lifting to the top of the head, and just gently looking around where you can comfortably. Return to the middle position. Again, I'll just take an easy version to start with. Lowering. The warrior gathers water. Think of lifting, focusing up inside the body, sitting with the hips, to sit and focus like the Zen monk in meditation. Extend to project up. Again, where do you feel comfortable? You might be able to go further with the arms, or you may be able to go further with the legs, or indeed you may be able to do both. Give that extra little bit of stretch. The same with the hands. If you can keep them together, bring them around the back for that little bit of extra stretching, but if they need to separate, just let them open when they need to come around comfortably. We're sort of going to do the same again, and I might go just a little bit further, following the waist meridians, using the edge of the hand to slide down the outside of the thighs. Here I'm thinking down below the knees, right down to my feet, keeping the back strong to use the legs to lift. And again to sit and focus like the Zen monk in meditation. Extending to project upwards. This time opening wide, push to the sides. Push out with the palms in this one, and then release the arms and bring the back of the hands up to focus to the kidneys. Adjust the feet, turning to the side. The wild horse drinks water. Extending to stretch out. Release the hips and sit to spiral down into the feet. Push back through the legs and lift through the arms. And return to the center position. Pushing wide. Focus to the sides. Release the arms and bring the hands up behind the back. Adjusting to where you feel comfortable. The wild horse drinking water. Sit with the hips, release down, push back to lift, return to the center. The lotus spirals downward again, round to the front, focusing on the hands, around the waist, around the back. Sit up straight in the horse riding stance as you push down into the feet. Embrace the space, gathering from all around. Focus into the hands to push down. You think of drawing up through the inside of the body and rolling onto the back of the hands. Gathering, looking at the fingertips, breathing in, short eye focus. Look into the distance to lengthen the eye focus. Scan the horizon. Warrior, opening the gates. Release, return to the center. Breathe in to gather. Open the ribs and the chest. Release the shoulders, the ribs, and focus to activate the diaphragm as you extend the breath out. Breathing in, filling the lower part of the lungs. Opening the ribs, expanding the chest, pulling back gently, and release. The Lohan gesture of the hands. Turn to the side to set up. Left hand first. Push the left hand out. Pull the right hand back. Bring the left shoulder back to sit up and activate. Release. Focus the chi, the mind, making the connections, activating, release. Focus, connect, activate, release. Whatever level is good for you, you can still do all the important points. Thinking about what you're doing, focusing, connecting, activating, release. Release. To the front. Again, the left hand first. Sit down to the hips, up through the back, chin in, head up, shoulders back. Rolling the arms to breathe. Focus. Connect. Activate. Release. Both hands together. Look left to prepare. Sweep to the right. Turn out to sweep across. Pull the left hand down to the hip, the right hand centering in front of the chest to push out, to scan the horizon. At the front, let the body turn to sit back into position. Pull the left elbow back as you push the right palm forward. Release. Adjust. Change sides. Centering. Scan the horizon. The serpent seeks incense. The dragon flexing its tail. The imagery helps us to think about the different parts of the movements. It all fits together into a good story. The warrior stance, horse riding, spiraling around again to lift the arms. Like the monk in meditation, focus the chi, make the connections, activate, and release. With each breath, to energize the Lohan Qigong, the energizer. Remember, you're not practicing to be a statue, practicing to be alive, so it's very important that you keep breathing. And as you'll notice, I'm using a little bit more movement with each breath to ease off, breathe in, focus, connect, and activate on the out breath. Sometimes when you first start, I think it's better to have more movement rather than trying to hold still. But as your skill develops, you may be able to stay there for longer with less external movement, but still the full focus of the mind, the body, and the breath working together through the whole body. To close, the easy one is just simply to step in, lift the arms, and stand tall. Okay. Scan, relax the scalp, the forehead, the face. Keep a little smile. The breath. The heart. All of the internal organs. The deeper breathing, the diaphragm, the abdomen, core strength right in the middle of the body. The hips, the muscles of the legs through the knees, the shins, the calves, the ankles, the toes. The Lohan, the enlightened warrior, makes a gesture of respect, a sign of humility, respect and appreciation for all things, and also a greeting to each other. And although we're not exactly together at the moment in person, we can still imagine giving our greetings to all of the people that have joined in with us this morning to do the exercise, or for that matter, anybody that's joined in at any time. It's been really interesting to hear from a couple of our students that they're doing more exercises now than they used to, and sometimes they're doing it morning and night. So that's really great to hear. And other people have said, well, unfortunately they have to work and can't do the morning sessions, so they've been able to catch up on the evening sessions. So remember, you can always come back to my Facebook page to do that. For those people that don't have Facebook, or you probably wouldn't be watching this live broadcast now if you don't, but I'm also putting some of them onto the YouTube channel so that you can follow those there. And today I'm going to release the 8 Principles of Practice Challenge. So there'll be emails going out, and on our website, if you want to go directly there to the www.livingqi.com.au, and if you go to the classes page, you'll probably get a little message there about COVID-19 anyway. That comes up first, and if you just click on classes, it'll take you straight there. There'll be a link to be able to participate in the 8 Principles of Practice Challenge. Basically, it's a paid course this time. It's 8 sessions looking at the fundamental aspects, the foundations for our Tai Chi and Qigong practice. It's $100 for the 8 weeks, and the idea is that I send you a link, and then you can look at the private YouTube clip and follow that lesson for a week. I think it's a good idea if you can, practice it quite a few times, because that will help you to consolidate that skill. And then in the next week, you'll get another link, and another link, and another link. So we start off with the stances and stepping, as I've mentioned. Then we move on to the breathing, which sort of incorporates a little bit more of the mindfulness and the meditation. And then we start to look back at the physical side again, the posture. And so we look at the flow, we look at the philosophy, we look at the connections through traditional Chinese medicine, and the important principles for the practice. But do you remember the 3 important principles for the Lohan Qigong? 1, the mind, to be present. 2, the connective tissues, the tendon, to make connections through the whole body, connect them all together. And 3, Bone breathing, squeezing the bones, activating the muscles to stimulate the pressure gently onto the bones. So I'll restart the music and we'll go through the Lohan Qigong one more time. And I may go a little bit further in some of the exercises, so please be cautious. Adjust to your own level. The Lohan. The warrior monk. To subdue the tiger. Like a Zen monk in meditation. The golden eagle spreads its wings. The warrior squats and steps into the horse riding stance. Three rings embrace the moon. Chasing the seven stars across the sky. The warrior scoops to gather water. The lotus spiraling downwards. The wide opening. The wild horse drinks water. Lotus spirals downwards. Sitting in the horse riding stance. Rolling the hands up in front of the body, out onto the back of the hands. Breathing in, sitting to push out. Breathing in, the warrior scans the horizon, opening the gates, looking to the left. Relax, breathing out. Gather to breathe in. Focus the chi in the out breath. Expand to breathe in. Open the chest. Focus the chi on the in breath. Relax. Release. Focusing the mind to make the connections. Activate and release. Try and get that squeeze through the whole body, the feet, the hands, the legs, the arms, the torso, everything connecting back into the center, to sit down into the earth and to project up into the sky. The center position, I might turn around again, see if I can do the opposite side, left hand first. Focus, release. Right hand, focus, activate, release. Both hands together. Looking to the side to get ready. Trying to turn around to get ready here so I can go to the left side easily. Get the focus. Look to follow the movement. Sit into position. The serpent seeks incense. The snake was mesmerized by the stream of incense in the temple. The monks were amazed at the intent, focus, and concentration of the snake. Activate, release. Return to the center position again. Spiral around the waist. Sit with the hips. Gently stretch up through the back. Lift the arms. Lift the palms. Stay sitting and imagine maybe you push the sky up a little bit higher, stretching the sides of the body. And then putting the palms together like the warrior monk in meditation. Sitting in the horse riding stance at a level that feels comfortable for you. Closing. Remember, you can just step, take it easy if you need to, or jump if that's comfortable. Keep the head up. Settle the chi. the enlightened warrior, the Lohan, makes a gesture of respect and extends a greeting to everyone. To settlement. That's a great exercise. The Energizer. I'm well warmed up now too. Had a good stretch and everything like that. So same before, come back and practice regularly with that. Think about the 8 Principles of Practice Challenge. It's going to be a great online learning experience. And the easiest way to get there straight away is the Living Chi website. It's not right there at the moment, but will be within an hour. And the other way, of course, is I will be doing a mail out and sending out information to everybody and putting it on the Facebook pages as well. So stay tuned and think about that. I think it's a very good way to enhance the skills. And these basic foundation skills, horse riding stance, bow stance, empty stance. We don't do as much balancing in the Lohan, but we do have a couple of little bits there that we can think about. And we usually incorporate some of those as warm-up exercises. The different sets, like the Shibashi, may do the movements differently, but the principles and the foundation remain the same. The same, here in the Lohan when we're doing the extra stretch. So that's why it's important to build good foundations. And practice. When you can focus your practice, if you spend a little bit of extra time, maybe you could spend 20 hours extra focusing on that one aspect. When you put it all back together again, everything works much better. So to finish off for today, I'm just going to do another release exercise. Take a big breath in through the nose, lift the hands and release and let the hands stick down. Breathe in. Give it a shake out, maybe even a quick pat down. Give it a pat on the back, pat on the chest, around the ribs, around the abdomen, legs. Well, I hope that's been another good session for you. I'll be back again on Friday morning. Have a good day.